Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Getting Ready for Black Friday. My name is Leah. I'm on the demand generation team here at Movable Inc., and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. I'd like to take a minute to introduce today's speaker. We have John Landsman and Jennifer Friedman here with us today. So Jennifer is the Client Marketing Manager here at Movable Inc., and John is the Director of Strategy and Analytics over at eDataSource. Before we get started, I'm going to go over a few housekeeping items while everyone's looking at today's agenda. So we're recording today's webinar, and we'll follow up with the recording and slides in the next few days when it's ready. And if you have any questions for our presenters, please feel free to submit them at any time throughout the webinar. There's a question panel on the right side of your nav, and we can answer them at the end during the Q&A session. There are also two ebooks listed in the attachments panel in that same Bright Talk navigation screen. They have some relevant data and insights that feed really nicely into today's presentation. And finally, don't forget to join the conversation on Twitter. You can mention us at Movable Inc. and at eDataSource and use hashtag Black Friday emails. So with that, I'll turn it over to John.
Hello, everybody. It's good to have you with us, and thanks for joining. My company, eDataSource, provides email competitive intelligence and inbox tracking services. If you're looking to understand how your competitors send email, that's what we do. We can see their campaigns, their subject lines, creative, send volumes, open rates, and deliverability performance, and we can also impute the size of the brand's email audience along with things like degrees of targeting and contact frequency. How do we do this? Well, we own an inbox organization and spam filter service. It's called Boxby, and it now boasts about 1.4 million members. It has global reach, and it's validated regularly. Most of our data come from our tracking of that email activity and the recipient's engagement with it. Who uses eDataSource? Well, our client base includes a wide range of brands, email service providers, digital agencies, and research companies. Our focus this year, again, is on Amazon. There are several pieces of why we watch this brand and what we watch and what we'll share with you today. First of all, their email footprint is enormous. It's a massive email audience. It's so large that they're also in all of your customers' email inboxes. We call this phenomenon subscriber overlap. And their mailing volumes are also enormous. They outmail practically everyone else we see. They're very good at what they do. In the more than 30 years that I've spent in customer relationship marketing, I've never seen a more sophisticated database marketer in terms of how they use data to precisely identify and optimize their audience segments. Their subject line wording reflects the precision of their email targeting. And finally, in their open rate engagement, their emails tend also to outperform everyone else's comparable email. So let's dig a little deeper on each of these items. What you see here is our standard graphic showing email subscriber overlap, and this one's for Amazon. The key overlap brands here are shown on the horizontal axis. The vertical axis shows degrees of overlap in percentage terms. So for example, we see that about 35% of Amazon's email audience is also getting email from brands like PayPal and Skype. Groupon is another big Amazon overlap, as are social media channels like Instagram and Twitter and Pinterest. Putting this together with other key overlaps in retail, financial services, travel, and entertainment gives us an indication of Amazon subscribers' key interests and what kind of email experience they may be having. And this is important because many of these people are your customers too. But let's flip this around and look at how some key retail brands' email customers are overlapping with Amazon. Here's a graphic that shows the percentage overlap with Amazon for 8 major retail brands whose names you know. For 2 of them, almost half of their email subscribers also get Amazon email. For the other 6, the overlaps are almost that large. The point is that if there are this many shared customers with Amazon, it really matters what Amazon does because they're likely to be your competitors and also because, more importantly, the sophistication of their email sets a bar with your customers that you should strive to meet. The detailed table coming up on this slide is there so that you can look at it later, but let me tell you what it says. Amazon outmails almost everyone else. There are more campaigns. There are more than twice as many as the next largest, and that's Walmart, and that's increasing year over year for the period. They're second highest, and that's behind Walmart in actual deployed email volume, and that's increasing. They mail almost 20% more holiday-themed campaigns than the next highest, also Walmart. It's also true that Amazon's share of holiday-themed emails went down year over year, but some other brands did too. If you compare read rates, that's what we call open rates across these same brands, Amazon has the highest overall read rates, although in general, year over year, read rates have declined somewhat, and read rates for holiday-themed emails are a little lower than for other emails running during that same period. So how do they do this? Well, what we have here is a question, first of all, of timing. These graphs show Amazon's holiday-themed mailings by day for the period leading up to and beyond Black Friday. Black Friday is shown with the vertical red line. The horizontal axis is days before and after Black Friday. The vertical axis describes volumes. What this shows is that Amazon starts all of its holiday-themed mailings up to a month in advance of Black Friday, which creates a considerable amount of momentum that the others don't get. As a comparison, here's Walmart. And this is, by the way, Walmart is typical of most others, their Black Friday, Cyber Monday mailings start 2 weeks later than Amazon's, and their otherwise holiday-themed mailings start a bit earlier on. But, there's more earlier on, but it's really only a smattering. Also, there's more targeting going on. When we talk about how we see targeting, we mean the extent to which email campaigns are sent to a relatively small percentage of what we estimate to be the brand's list size. We call this metric a targeting percentage. And the lower the number, the more targeting we infer. So comparing targeting across these brands, we see Amazon doing by far the most targeting, and a good deal more of that for the non-holiday mailings than for the holiday mailings. And we can actually cut this metric another way. Each point in these scatter diagrams is a mailing and relates the targeting percentage of that mailing on the horizontal axis with its read rate on the vertical axis. On both graphs, the higher read rates are associated with the most targeted mailings, but more so with the non-holiday theme mailings during that period than with the holiday theme mailings. Now, as a comparison, what you can see here is Toys R Us, and where this is much less true. I don't think that's changed yet. There you go. Sorry. Yeah, it's much less true for Toys R Us. More mailings to a higher percentage of the file, and more consistently lower read rates. And finally, Amazon uses more personalized subject lines. These graphics show what we call word co-occurrence in Amazon subject lines. The graphic on the left analyzes subject lines for mailings themed to Black Friday and Cyber Monday. The one on the right analyzes other holiday-themed subject lines running during that same period. The larger the word bubble, the more frequently the word is used. Bubbles connected by lines have a co-occurrence relationship. The closer the proximity of the bubbles, the more likely those words are to have been used in combination. In the left graphic, you can see that the Black Friday, Cyber Monday subject lines make extensive use of specific product references. Upper center cluster, you see the words video, camera, photo together. In the top center, you see home as a center for kitchen and garden improvement and tool. In the upper left, there's savings as central to watch, jewelry, and clothing. When these words are keyed to how the emails are targeted, they're tremendous motivators to engage, and that really works. In the right graphic here, showing this product item for non Black Friday, some of this holiday theme mailings, but not Black Friday, Cyber Monday, this product item specifically occurs, but less so, and it's more key to other motivators, words like gift, holiday, deal, prime, percent, and free shipping. So there's personalization there, and that really works. And then finally, here are 3 examples of Black Friday, Cyber Monday theme mailings. The one on the left is Amazon's. The center email is from Best Buy, and on the right is an example from Kohl's. If you can look at the Best Buy and Kohl's subject lines, they are overall event announcements. Kohl's throws in a 20% discount as well. But Amazon's on the left is focused solely on home, kitchen, and garden. Just one email specific to those categories. And its read rate was 8 to 10 percentage points higher than those of the other brands in these 2 examples. And it's fairly typical of how they do what they do and how well it works. So finally, as far as takeaways are concerned, timing. Get out there earlier than a week or 2 before Thanksgiving. The more momentum you have, the better off you're going to be carrying yourself into Black Friday week or Thanksgiving week or that weekend. Target messages to audience segments based on customer segment, status, browse, and purchase behavior. This is a conversation we've been having with clients for as many years as I've been in the business. Finally, personalized message content, including, and most importantly, as far as we're concerned, subject lines, because that's what gets the engagement going. 2 elements of the targeting, referencing specific occasions and merchandise categories and items that are relevant to the individuals receiving the emails. Thanks again for your time and attention today. I'll turn it back over to Jennifer.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, John, and hello, everybody. Excited to talk more about Movable Ink and how you can actually use Movable Ink to implement some of the ideas that John spoke about. So any of those shared inboxes that you're sharing with Amazon, you can start competing at a one-on-one level. So I think there's a handful of people on the webinar today that are very familiar with Movable Ink, but there might also be some people that are new to Movable Ink. So Movable Ink is a contextual experience engine that empowers marketers to connect with their customers as they move seamlessly between moments, places, and devices. So that's a really nice sentence about what we do. The way that I like to sum it up is that we're making sure that your emails are always going to be relevant at the point of open for your customers. And you're going to do this by targeting, personalizing content in order to really make sure that that's a one-on-one unique experience for your customers in the inbox to really start to create that emotional connection. So how to stand out in the inbox, obviously that is our theme for today. The first theme that we talked about is timing, so we'll go into how you can use timing with Movable Ink. As John mentioned, Amazon usually starts to send about a month before Black Friday, and for anybody that's counting, that's about a week away from now. This is sort of our little cheat sheet. I know that everybody gets like a PDF of this presentation, so you can print that off and use this. We are in October now, and I know that it says October 1st, send your first campaign. Don't feel bad if you didn't follow this or you're not there. You still have plenty of time in order to make sure that you can communicate with your customers earlier rather than later. But again, this is just sort of a helpful guide for anybody that may need it after this presentation. So looking at how you can use timing and Movable Ink's features in your emails to make sure that content's going to be relevant to a customer. And so really, yes, you want to email clients early, but you might not know what do I email them about just yet. Any sort of pre-holiday sales that you might have coming up, you can obviously use time targeting to target content in those emails. And ultimately what time targeting is it allows you to swap out images based off of the time that a customer opens the email. And there's a couple advantages here. Number one, that email is always going to be relevant in the inbox. And then number two, you can actually automate a lot of content in your email. So if you have something like this example here with the 12 days of deals, like counting down to Christmas or Hanukkah, then you can actually create one HTML, set up the targeting rules to time target this content, and actually swap out images for each one of those daily deals. So that's a very nice feature. We have a lot of clients use that. And I also wanted to point out that you might see a startling statistic here on the screen. 45% of emails are opened after an offer expires. And that's ultimately the research that we've done with all of our clients across the board that use time targeting features. So 45%, I mean, that's obviously brushing up to close to 50%, so can be up to half. Even if it was only half of that, if it was 20 to 25% of your customers, that's a huge portion of your customer base that you have an opportunity to make sure that your content, again, is going to be relevant in the inbox when they go to open that email. Another great way to focus on timing, as we all know, getting ready for the holiday season, there's all kinds of things and distractions, and I'm sure that there's more than just me on the line that tends to wait till the last minute to do my shopping. So one way that's really great for retailers to, again, remind people of how much time that they may have to make a purchase is to target content in the email that would be specific to when they open the email and what the shipping deadlines are, right? So everybody has some sort of a shipping special, buy it before this date in order to get free shipping, buy it before this date in order to make sure that it arrives by Christmas, or I think the first night of Hanukkah is actually on Christmas Eve this year, so those line up really well. And then you can swap that image out, so after you've passed the shipping deadline, you can swap that image out to say, don't be left behind. Don't be left behind. You can always purchase a gift card to put under the tree or to give on the first night of Hanukkah. So again, something that can be really important, and making sure that you're reminding your customers of how much time they have left in order to get those great deals. It looks like, do we have a question? Okay, can you swap product images from middle layout? Expired message shown on right. Yes, you totally can. Oh, sorry. Our setup here, I was looking at the computer but realized it's on the larger screen. So you can totally swap out product images from the middle layout. Yeah, so like if there happened to be a product image, maybe that was for the previous slide because there were more products on that with the shoes, you can 100% you can target those product images so they would display at certain times, and then you could collapse all of them into just like one pixel after the sale is over, and they could see sorry, this deal has expired, but please go and continue to shop to see what the other deals are. Hopefully that answered your question, because I think it was on the previous slide, but if not, keep asking questions and we'll get to those as we continue. All right, so moving on to targeting, and obviously I've already started to reference some time targeting, but there's other ways that you can target the customer as well. And one thing that John mentioned that Amazon does so well is they take a lot of the learned customer behavior and they start to target specifically those category emails or in the subject line, and then the content in the email. And so ultimately what you can do is use a lot of that information that you have already available to target customers by some of their search categories, their browse behavior, past purchase behavior, anything like that. to actually display, items that you're going to have or want to feature this holiday season that would be relevant to them based off of past behavior. And one of the notes here from Digital Trends is that 75% of customers prefer to buy from businesses that provide relevant experiences, and I think that that's something ultimately that's pretty intuitive for anybody that is in the retail side of things. Again, going back to that customer experience, anytime that you can show the customer that you're listening to them, paying attention to them, and really tailoring any communication to them is going to set you apart in the inbox. Now, you might be saying, well, I don't have a lot of customer information available to me today. That's okay. This is an opportunity to start communicating with customers early and gathering information. So what you see here is Movable Link's live polling capability, and it pairs really nicely with progressive profiling. So ultimately, you can send out an email and you can ask your customers, who are you shopping for this holiday season, or who's going to be the most difficult person on your list to shop for? Is it a friend? Is it a coworker? Is it a family member? And ultimately, you can start to gather information based off of the customer selection in that specific email. And then you can follow up with a message closer to Black Friday or during Cyber Week that would be very specific to the customer based off of who they said they were going to have a difficult time shopping for. So again, you're able to use some of those timing techniques, so you can email somebody early with an email asking who are you going to have trouble for or trouble shopping for, and then later on, closer to the holiday season, you can target with an email like this. All right, and our third theme is personalization. Obviously, personalization is not anything new to anybody on the phone. That was a big key word for John, and that's a key word for us. And I know that it is a buzzword, but it actually has a lot of validity and kind of has lived up to its reputation and its name. So figuring out how to go a step further than first name personalization. This is a really great example of how you can target and personalize content based off of weather, right? So I don't know where everybody's calling in from. It was 80 degrees in New York this week in October. Leah and I are both from Oregon. There was a tornado in Oregon this week, like crazy weather. So ultimately, we don't know what the rest of October, November, and December are going to bring. But you want to make sure that your message is going to be relevant, again, to that customer when they open the email. So this email is actually from Alan Edmonds, and it's an email that they used weather targeting on. And their criteria here was whether the temperature was above or below 40 degrees. With Movable Link's targeting capabilities, you can target not only based off of temperature, but based off of the specific weather condition. So if it happens to be raining, you can feature rainwear or the benefits of your product in the rain. If it happens to be snowing, same thing, or sunny. This also is really nice because, as we know, the country has different weather everywhere, right? So you can send one email, and then with the targeting rules, you can make sure that people in California, people in Minnesota, people in Florida, and New York are all going to see something that's relevant to them and hopefully really stand out again in the inbox, make your product speak to them, and ultimately create a conversion. For those of you with brick and mortar locations, another way that you can personalize an email is using a map. So there's a couple things that are really great about this. Number one, you can show the customer's nearest location to where they happen to be living, if that's something that you would want to do. You can actually display holiday hours, so if that's another thing, maybe you're going to be closed on Thanksgiving and then you know what time your store's opening on Black Friday. Or you have specific holiday hours for the weekend versus during the week. You can definitely call that out here right above the map as you see in this example. Another great thing about local maps is that if somebody does happen to be traveling during the holiday season and maybe they're not familiar with the town that they're in, or all of a sudden they need a last-minute gift when they're visiting their cousins and who knows where, they can go back to your email, reopen that email, and it will tell them where your nearest location is if they happen to be in close proximity to it. So again, great way to personalize that email and then also drive traffic to your brick and mortar location. And then obviously we can't have a conversation about personalization without showing you some first name personalization. This is an awesome campaign from Movember. If anybody's on the Movember email list, they just had a really cool email go out with a lot of movable ink elements in it, but it was actually showing like when you first signed up for Movember and how much money you've raised since that date. So it got a lot of social buzz. We will follow up with a hashtag for that if anybody's interested in seeing it, because it's like all over Instagram and Twitter, which is very cool. I know that's what all of you email experts on the phone strive for, is to get your email to go viral on social. But this is, again, a fun way to personalize an email. It's a little bit different than just calling out in some sort of plain text, but personalizing an image. And we've seen not only using subject lines, but also when you have the personal email or personal content in an email, that you end up getting higher open rates, and that's from experience. And across the board, I think anytime that we've done an optimization with clients using personalization versus non-personalization, personalization ends up resonating much more with the customer. So now this is what I think all of your emails will look like, I'm sure, this holiday season. But this is really blending everything together, right? So I think that this kind of ties in the example that John showed from Amazon, personalizing with the subject name and then personalizing the content in the email. And again, if you don't have some of that information, then using timing, targeting, and personalization tactics all combined together in one email, you're going to have the best email that you can possibly send to your customers, and hopefully it'll perform really well. So what you notice here is that there's first name personalization. We're saying, Courtney, it's cold outside in New York today. So not only are we pulling in the first name, but we're also pulling in the temperature and then the location of where Courtney is. And then we have a targeted coupon for Courtney for 20% off because she's such a wonderful customer. So again, there's a lot of really fun ways that you can incorporate these different elements into an email. But as you start to stack them on top of each other, that's when you get that highly personalized, highly relevant email. And then finally, didn't want to forget the subject line. So Movable Ink does not actually host subject line. Those are all hosted by your ESP, but just wanted to remind everyone that, there's a lot in a subject line. As Leah knows, she used to manage our subject line of the day campaign that we feature, or of the week, I don't know, that we feature. You can go check it out on Twitter as well. But, running A/B tests, using first name personalization, using any other indicators that you might have, right? So as John mentioned, using that category or the product specifics. So anything, again, that you can do to not only personalize the email, but personalize that subject line as well is going to help you increase your open rates and then hopefully conversions. So our key takeaways and themes for the day really are the three that you see here: timing, targeting, and personalization. So again, you're going to have that little cheat sheet that you can use as a calendar to make sure that you are on track. And just want to remind everybody that I know some of you probably started planning for holidays 3 months ago, and some of you are still in the midst of planning. There's no right or wrong. But just make sure that you're starting to plan for about a month out before Cyber Week really hits in order to start messaging your customers. Targeting, again, targeting based off of offers, targeting based off of any sort of information that customer has given you, so you can really work on converting and provide them with the best total experience in the inbox. And then obviously personalization, whether it's first name, whether it's weather-based, or any of the other personalized elements that we can incorporate from any sort of query parameters that you guys might have in order to stand out in the inbox. So thank you guys so much for your time today. I hope that we gave you 3 tips that will help get you through this holiday season, and we wish you all happy emailing.
Great, and we are now going to hop into some Q&A. So if you have any questions, please submit them through BrightTalk. For now, we have a few teed up that have been asked to us throughout the duration of the presentation. So the first one that I have, it's a little long, but Amazon is a super sender, right? This is a brand that sells everything, and they have a lot of manpower behind their email program and just their business in general. They're huge. It seems like they can email a ton and have tons of data about what they're doing. So I guess, what can perhaps a smaller team or maybe a more focused brand take away from Amazon's experience and Amazon's data?
Sure. Well, I think that what Amazon has is, in principle, what any email marketer can have, although to the degree that it does it, there's a level of sophistication and granularity that perhaps other mailers don't invest in and can't use. But any mailer should have some degree of information as to gender of customer. Any mailer should have some degree of information as to whether a customer shopped in that period a year ago. Any mailer should know who their new customers are, so they're talking to them at this time of year. I think there are some basic things that can be pulled in through preference centers, and some very basic data pulls that would allow you to understand who these people are and what kinds of offers and on a broad basis merchandise they would want to talk about. So there's relevance that's possible here, even if you're not Amazon. And I think it works better than simply blanket mailing everything about everybody about everything.
Great. So the next question that I have is a little bit more maybe technical and perhaps Movable Ink oriented, but a question from the audience is, does this contextual targeting require any sort of tech implementation?
Yes. So yes, but don't be scared. We have some power users on the phone, and our team is always here to help and assist. Ultimately, if you have a contract with Movable Ink, you're going to be set up with a client team that's here to support you. They will walk you through everything that may be needed, and then they can build content for you here too. It's very simple integration. I know that integration sometimes can be a scary word. But ultimately, the way that our service works is we are just hosting images in your email. So the image source would go into your HTML code just like any other image source that is hosted in your emails today. But then what's happening is that image is pointing to the Movable Ink servers. And we have all of those rules set up, so we have your targeting rules. So we say, okay, if it's sunny, show the sunny weather picture. If it's rainy, show the rainy weather picture. And if it's snowing, show the snowing picture. But again, ultimately, that's just going to be one image source code that you would put into your HTML, and then based off of the weather when the person's opening the email and the targeting rules that have been set up, we would know which image to display in order to personalize that email for the customer at the point of open.
Great. So our final question that we have for the day is, it's October 20th, today, currently. Thanksgiving is about a month away, which we've kind of alluded to throughout the presentation. This question is, are there any sort of quick wins or maybe, I guess, top priority benefits that can be gained right now with a month to go into what might be your biggest season of the year?
Well, I think, for those clients or for people on the phone that, maybe don't have some of that information on your customer base, I would say start reaching out, start trying to gain some of that data so you can target them a little bit further down the line, and then really start to set yourself up. So I think probably the best thing that you could do is make sure that you have a plan that you're ready to execute on and use that calendar that we provided to you in order to target sort of those major dates and figure out when you should be sending. Obviously, again, you're going to be getting, I think, a copy of this, and you can look at more detail into those graphs that John provided. I know that it's a little hard to see maybe on the screen, or you just need to look at them a little bit longer to digest, but I think the more that you can do and the earlier you can do it, the better, and just kind of stay step in step with Amazon as much as possible.
Yeah, I think that although it's only a month between now and when Black Friday, well, not much more than a month between now and when we get to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you can still be doing a good deal of targeting in that period of time. I think there is a significant amount of personalization of subject lines that can be mounted in that period of time. And remember, we're not just talking about what happens between here and Black Friday, Cyber Monday. There's another month to go until Christmas where shopping activity and certainly email and promotional activity are quite heavy, and some additional amounts of sophistication can be layered in along the way. So this is a short lead time for some of the sophistication we're talking about here, but a good deal of what's really carrying the weight of value add in this can be done sooner than later, and a lot of what's really sophisticated can be layered in that last month before Christmas.
Great. With that, we are going to wrap things up. Thanks again for joining us today. And if you're curious to learn more after the webinar, we do have those attachments built into this presentation. But also, please feel free to reach out to either of our teams. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you.